Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Faye Kwan. The current Bumiputera quota system under the country's matriculation program will remain unchanged, according to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. This follows an announcement that students who obtain 10 A's and above in the SPM exam will be guaranteed a place in any matriculation program, regardless of race or locality.
He said that meritocracy, although upheld, should not become a rigid ideology.
Sementara kita setuju prinsip meritokrasi, kita juga harus pertahankan prinsip keadilan dan justice is fairness. Kalau kita tekankan merit saja, maka orang yang marginalized, yang miskin akan kekal dalam keadaan sedemikian.
Anwar said the government's decision to guarantee a place in any matriculation program for students who obtained 10 A's, regardless of race or locality, was to address the issue of fairness in education. Meanwhile, Higher Education Minister Datuk Seri Zamri Abdul Kadir said public universities would have no problem accommodating all SPM top scorers as announced by the Prime Minister. The details would be disclosed by Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq.
The government has no plans to impose an age limit on Malaysian drivers. Transport Minister Anthony Loke says this despite calls for such measures to prevent accidents.
The minister said he acknowledged that there have been proposals, but the government has to be practical and give proper consideration before any decision is made. According to a University Putra Malaysia UPM road safety study in 2023, about 30% of drivers above 60 were still active on the road. Loke said that while age was a factor to road accidents, he said that there are other reasons against imposing a cut-off limit. He said that it would be difficult to impose a ban on senior citizens driving, especially so for those living in rural areas or needs to get around during emergencies.
Meanwhile, the Transport Ministry will begin a crackdown on tour buses from tomorrow morning, following the deadly crash in Genting Highlands that killed 2 tourists from China. Its Minister Anthony Loke says joint enforcement operations will be conducted over the next few weeks.
We will have a major crackdown on all tour buses beginning tomorrow. Semua bas pelancong di kawasan-kawasan di mana kita ada sekatan jalan raya akan diperiksa.
Loke said the bus involved in the Genting Highlands crash had its permit expired 4 months ago. The vehicle was also over 15 years old and the driver was operating without a license. Initial investigations showed that the 32-year-old driver had 27 previous traffic summonses for various offences. Loke added that the Land Public Transport Agency had been asked to investigate the tour bus company concerned. If found guilty of failing to ensure the safety of passengers and road users, he said the firm's owners could be fined up to 500,000 ringgit, sentenced to 2 years in jail or both.
Stricter rules for vape and electronic cigarettes may be implemented as early as next month. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says his ministry is working to get the regulations and orders endorsed by the Attorney General's chambers.
Vape usage currently falls under the Food Act and Control of Tobacco Product Regulations. Under the latest Control of Smoking Products for Public Health Act 2024, the use of electronic cigarettes or vapes would be strictly regulated. The sale and purchase of tobacco products would also be prohibited to those under 18 years old. Enforcement of the Act was due to start in June, but was delayed pending approval from the AGC. The 2023 National Health and Mobility Survey reported a decrease in cigarette use among adolescents aged 13 to 17, but e-cigarette or vape use had increased from 9.8% in 2017 to 14.9% in 2022.
With the rationalisation of diesel subsidies, some industries claim that their cost of doing business will be affected. We ask Ideas Malaysia's Doris Liu for her views on how this economic reform affects industries across various sectors.
For industries that receive government subsidies, which has been announced, such as Budi Mandani and the fleet card system, the impact of the diesel price increase will be minimal. This includes some logistic companies and small agricultural businesses that benefit from these subsidies. On the other hand, industries that are not eligible for subsidies, which are the tipper lorry operators, which are relevant for construction, they will be significantly affected by the 50% increase in diesel price, which may potentially lead to increase in business costs and higher prices for consumers. However, while the food price increase may have minimal impact on property prices in the short to medium term, we need to be cognizant that some parties are exploiting the situation to engage in the profiteering practices. So although fuel costs may only amount for a small portion of their expenses, some businesses are planning to increase their prices by 20 to 30% or more, which are disproportional to the fuel increase.
Doris also weighed in on how the new diesel subsidy reform affects the property sector.
However, I think that the impact on property price is not going to be very significant. There's 3 reasons for this. First is the transportation costs represent a small proportion of construction costs, which are more influenced by the fluctuations in the prices of essential materials like cement and steel. Second, many construction companies outsource logistics firms that are eligible for the legal subsidy, so they already mitigate some of the increased costs. And third, housing market is driven by supply and demand. So Malaysia's property sales market index shows that the supply index has increased more rapidly than the demand index, resulting in property overhang, which is there's oversupply issues in the industry.
As a solution, she suggested for continuous engagement sessions between the government and industry players to better understand how diesel prices affect their businesses and find ways to ease their burdens.
The government seems to be quite hardline in clamping down on practices by monitoring and issuing warnings to the industry against price hikes. This tit for tat is counterproductive. Instead, the government should engage with the affected industry to work on an amicable solution, like understanding how diesel prices affect the industry, by how much, and if there are other cost-saving alternatives. So I think that this is part of the loophole of the policies that the government did not consider, especially for things like bus drivers, school bus drivers who face a significant increase in cost due to this policy. So I think that engagement with some of these industries is very much necessary for the government to chart its next course of action, because the government also does not want some increases in the cost of living of affected parties as well.
We'll be back with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Hello Kedah, 5 Julai ini bawa keluarga dan rakan-rakan anda temui Didi and Friends.
Tak sabarnya.
Serta pelbagai aktiviti menarik dan hadiah hebat menanti. Ketahui program-program terbaru dan saksikan persembahan istimewa daripada bintang-bintang kami.
Best.
Luang bertemu mesra bersama para selebriti drama kesayangan anda. Hiburan hebat untuk seisi keluarga.
Kita ke sana.
Hello Kedah, jumpa anda di sana.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrate Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Welcome back. In France, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally Party led the first round of parliamentary elections on Sunday, confirming the party's growing influence in French politics. With an unusually high turnout, the party won 33.1% of the vote. A left-wing alliance came in second with 28%, and President Emmanuel Macron's camp trailed with 20.76%.
The turnout at 66.7% was the highest for a parliamentary first round since 1997. While the National Rally is on track to win the most seats in the National Assembly, it may fall short of the 289 needed for an absolute majority. This could lead to a hung parliament and increase political uncertainty, hindering the National Rally's plans for immigration and tax cuts. Projections show the National Rally securing 230 to 280 seats in the 577-seat lower house after next Sunday's second round of voting. The left-wing New Popular Front coalition is expected to win 125 to 165 seats, with Macron's alliance trailing at 70 to 100 seats. Macron had called for France to head to the polls after the National Rally's victory in European elections. The results could force him into an unprecedented partnership with a prime minister from an opposition party for the remainder of his presidential term.
Over in Myanmar, the junta arrested 11 people, including a Japanese national, for selling rice at inflated prices. The rice traders and officials from rice mills and retailers were accused of inflating prices between 31 to 70% above what is deemed acceptable by the authorities. The arrest of Hiroshi Kasamatsu, director at supermarket operator Aeon Orange, has caused friction with Tokyo. The junta claims Kasamatsu and 3 Myanmar nationals aim to create economic chaos through price gouging. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the military took control in 2021. Poverty is more widespread than at any time in the last 6 years, and labour shortages and a depreciating currency have made it harder to do business. Last month, the junta arrested at least 35 people, cracking down on gold and foreign exchange traders with the aim of stabilising a rapidly depreciating currency. Rice traders say the mismatch between the official foreign exchange rate and black market rates causes significant problems. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is facing mounting impeachment calls on the National Assembly's public petition website. Since its launch on June 20th, the petition has gathered over 811,000 signatures, urging Parliament to introduce a bill to impeach Yoon on the grounds that he is unfit for the job. The petition encountered disruptions over the weekend due to the high volume of people attempting to sign it. On Monday, users faced delays of up to 4 hours, with an error message showing that over 30,000 people were waiting to access the site. National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-shik promised the issues would be promptly resolved to ensure citizens could exercise their constitutional rights. The petition accuses Yoon of corruption, heightening tensions with North Korea, and failing to prevent Japan from releasing treated radioactive water from the damaged Fukushima nuclear plant, posing health risks to South Koreans. By law, any petition signed by over 50,000 people must be referred to a committee, which then decides whether to present it to the full assembly for a vote. South Korea has impeached 2 presidents before, Roh Moo-hyun in 2004 and Park Geun-hye in 2017. Yoon has been largely unpopular since taking office in 2022, with his approval ratings hovering around 25% since April. Australia has become the first country to ban the sale of vapes outside pharmacies, with new laws coming into effect today. This means customers must speak with a pharmacist before buying a vape, while those under 18 will need a prescription. Users will need to present a doctor's prescription to a pharmacist to buy vapes. E-cigarette packaging and flavours will also be tightly restricted to 3 flavours only. Australian authorities say the move spells the end of colourful branding and fun flavours that they say was a ploy to get children hooked on nicotine. However, under a political deal that was struck to secure the law's approval, the restrictions will ease in October, when only minors under 18 will need a prescription. Known for its strict anti-smoking laws and steep tobacco taxes, Australia already banned most vape imports earlier this year. Importers must now apply for licenses from the government drug control body. That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Faye Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.